What have we learned from 49ers OTAs in 2023? We're going to talk about all those things that we have gained from the two open practices that we have had, seeing rookies, vets, and everyone in between. And of course, the quarterback position. What have we learned about it all? We're going to talk about it all right now after this, but you already know what to do. Drop an SDS in that chat. Smash that like button. Let's cook. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it. What is going down, gang? Good to see you guys on this Thursday. Of course, we got some 49ers football to talk about. We are going to kind of distill everything that came out of OTAs yesterday. We're going to recap some of the things that we've learned from OTAs in general. We're going to talk quarterback updates. We're going to talk vet updates. And we're going to talk about what the next steps are and what to look forward to this offseason. We're going to talk about it. We'll just talk about whatever. We're just going to vibe. We're going to vibe about 49ers football. I will say this, though. I think one of the things that the overarching things to take away and what I've learned, at least, from the two open OTA practices, what we've been able to take a look at, again, trying to make sense of the press conferences, the clips that we've seen, et cetera, et cetera. It does feel like, though, that this team is in a good spot. And one thing that we did learn yesterday is don't get too close to Kyle Shanahan's field. We learned that. Apparently, Dwayne Allen, I think he's an NFLPA representative. He was a guest, I think, of John Lynch. He's a former tight end. I believe he's a former first-round draft pick out of Clemson, actually. So he's an NFL guy, right? He's an NFL lifer. He's working for the NFLPA. That's an NFL guy right there. Apparently, he got a little too close to Kyle Shanahan's field. Kyle Shanahan didn't like that. Kyle Shanahan apparently stopped practice, yelled at this dude, apparently so much so that onlookers believed that they were going to get into some kind of fight or altercation. Oh, you know what that means? That means football's back, baby. That means football's back. Hey, man, if you're not on the brink of fighting during practice, are we really competing? Are we really locked in? Like, I know a lot of people sometimes believe football should be kumbaya. Everyone's holding hands and sitting around the campfire, roasting marshmallows and making s'mores and that's what a football locker room is. And nah, nope. There's a bunch of alphas walking around here. you got a bunch of top dogs walking around here. Hey, Kyle set the boundary. Don't cross his line. You cross Kyle's line, he's gonna come barking at you. So I thought that was one fun thing that we learned from training camp yesterday. I don't even think Kyle knew who. I don't even. He clearly didn't care. Don't step on my field. Get away from my players. Apparently, it sounded like Dwayne Allen had kind of moseyed over to, I think it was like the defensive group or something like that, and was kind of chopping it up with them. And again, man, especially if like the coaches are trying to teach something or there's like a point that they're trying to make, you don't focus up, guys. Who's this dude over here chopping it up? Don't focus on him. It's a OTAs, baby. We got things to install, all that type of stuff. Gator don't play no. I like that one. That's a good one. Hey, and that's Kyle in a nutshell, right? You step onto Kyle Shanahan's field, that's his field. You play by Kyle's rules. Kyle set the rules. You Kyle's the boss, man. You gotta you gotta you gotta get in line with Kyle, right? So we learned that from OTAs yesterday. I thought that was pretty funny. But also we learned a lot of other things. One of the things that we learned about is Elijah Mitchell wasn't practicing yesterday. So as a result of Elijah Mitchell not practicing yesterday, that also meant JP Mason got some run with the ones. Listen, I really like Elijah Mitchell. I think Elijah Mitchell has a ton of talent. We've seen everything that Elijah Mitchell possesses. That's not Elijah's problem. Just like we've seen with some players, just staying on the field and staying available can be their biggest issue. Now, I don't know why Elijah Mitchell wasn't practicing. We didn't get any reports of injury or anything like that, so we're kind of speculating at this point. But we do know he's missed time, quite a bit of time in the past. So, at least as recently as last year. And so you don't love to see that, but what you do love to see and hear about is Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason, even the 49ers posted a couple clips. Again, it's really tight edits. They're really not leaving a bunch of room for interpretation, and rightfully so. I totally understand why they're not letting the whole thing hang out there for us to pick it apart. Smart by the 49ers marketing team for making sure that everything that they're putting out is tight. You really can't pull too much from it. But we did get two Jordan Mason sightings in that particular clip. And he's active as a pass catch. Like, this is the thing that we talked about all last season, like that I talked about. And again, one of the main reasons why I was super bullish why Jordan Mason needed to make this roster. Like, I don't know if you guys remember or follow me on Twitter, but like I was, I don't get too vocal about a ton of things. Like, sometimes I just really don't care to even waste my energy on things. And I'm just like, what? I really don't care. I cared a lot about Jordan Mason. And again, what he was able to show in training camp last year, and I was extremely bullish on Jordan Mason making this roster. Uh, I really did believe like he deserved a spot, and a lot of people, even though understood how well Jordan Mason was playing, he's an undrafted free agent. You had Trey Sermon, just drafted TDP in the third round, and Elijah Mitchell. So it didn't seem like, from a roster politics standpoint, that Jordan Mason was going to make the roster. Uh, just because it felt like we were hearing reports. Trey Sermon is the best we've ever seen him in training camp and all of that type of stuff. But I was very bullish on Jordan Mason making the roster, and one of those things that made me that way was his ability as a pass catcher. If you didn't go to training camp, you haven't seen Jordan Mason's ability to catch the football. That was arguably one of the best things, his best traits at training camp last year, was what he was like. This dude looked like, when you get him out in the flat, he's running Texas routes, choice routes. He looks like a very capable wide receiver. And guess what? We didn't really see that in the regular season from Jordan Mason. So listen, Jordan Mason sounds like he's locked in as the RB3 right now. He's definitely jumped TDP. TDP's a little bit on notice right now. We've got some young undrafted free agent players like Laybourne coming in here to challenge. He brings a much different skill set than what TDP has, which I think is TDP's biggest threat, is that Laybourne is a completely different skill set. And the thing that's hurting TDP is he has a similar skill set as Jordan Mason and Elijah Mitchell. So, but back to Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason's we've seen it every step of the way. Every time he's been given been given a chance to have an op, he takes advantage of that op. And for an undrafted free agent rookie to be able to showcase what he did last year in training camp, what he did in the regular season, in the postseason, and what we're still continuing to see that growth. Jordan Mason could have a big year this year, especially if you get one injury to any one of these running backs. Jordan Mason feels like that guy that could absolutely take an enormous step forward. He's not a rookie anymore. He's acclimated. You know what I'm saying? So, one of the things that we've learned, Jordan Mason getting more run, getting run with the ones, all that kind of stuff. So, I like that. That makes me happy. Another thing that we learned, audio is mad quiet. Is that any better? Check, testing, audio. Any better? Potentially turn up the volume, maybe? I don't know. Another thing that we learned yesterday is Brandon Aiyuk is ready to go. Brandon Aiyuk is ready to ball. I think we all agree. That's better? Oh, good. Good. I'm just turning knobs. So the fact that it's working, fantastic. I'm just turning knobs. I'm apparently turning them in the right direction. Bravo. Thank you, team. Thank you to my producers in the chat. I appreciate you guys. You guys matter. Shout out to SDS. Shout out to Mod Squad. You guys are the best. But BA's ready to go, man. Oh, boy. See, the thing about BA is that we're watching the maturation process continue. Like, we've seen it year in and year out, but it is continuing. It's not stopping. BA is about that life. BA doesn't care. My boy BA don't care. He's out here ready. And again, you hear this like, oh, I'm about to take off, right? Like, oh, this cocky guy. This guy's cocky. You know. Nah. That's confidence. He really did come across like you can tell when someone's like forcing confidence, I think. I think you can tell when someone's like a little bit too high on themselves. I didn't get that at all from BA. BA's quiet, he's calculated, he's introverted. So when people who are like that say something with like that much, I guess, was a reverence, it feels like it hits different. And when he's like, I'm about to take off, I can even, if you miss the clip, it's right here.
Take off. That's it.
I'll let it run.
I'm about to take off. That's it.
Like,
I'm about to take off.
Like the body language.
That's it.
He's just like,
it's like a take off.
It's a fact.
That's it.
It's a fact that he's about to take off. It's not like it's like, oh, I gotta hype myself up, or I'm just this arrogant about myself. No, it's like he's just like, it's a fact. I'm about to take off. That's it. And I believe him. This is a money year for Brandon Aiyuk. This is a payday type year. So he has multiple motivations. I think last year was his first year in the NFL where from start to finish, it clicked. Now, what BA will do is build off of that. Remember how insane BA was in training camp last year? He was unbelievable. And I really do believe that with Brandon Aiyuk, he is going to take another step. I thought in 2021, man, Brandon Aiyuk was a 1,400 all-purpose yardage type player. in 2021. And heading into 2023, you best believe I believe the same thing. He is a 1,400 yard type player, but he's not going to do it with handoffs. He's not going to do it from, you know, behind the line of scrimmage. He's going to do it as he's going to beat you with routes. He's going to beat you deep downfield. He's going to manipulate cornerbacks. He's going to eat up space. He's going to find the soft spot on defenses. He needs someone to throw him the football. He can't do it all on his own. I think what we started to see last year, and I think part of the acclimation process last year for Brandon Aiyuk when Brock Purdy came in, he wasn't used to a quarterback who's going to target him past 20 yards downfield. There's multiple times on tape that we were able to showcase Brandon actually kind of gave up on a route because historically he wouldn't be targeted at that depth. And when Brock came in, Brock was going to let that thing rip. If BA was going to get open downfield and Brock saw it, he was going to try to get it to him. And so I think that was another acclimation process where, you know, Jimmy was great for the 49ers. Even BA talked very highly about Jimmy Garoppolo, But you could see it on tape. He didn't get targeted very much because he was running deep routes. So when Brock came in, Brock was willing to do it and give him a shot. I mean, think about the play where Brock Purdy got hurt. It was a deep shot, a set-up deep shot to Brandon Aiyuk. So if Brock comes back, Brock gets healthy, Brock is quarterback one, Brandon Aiyuk and Brock continue to build on this chemistry, this could be the year that we get BA 1,400. It could be. I think it would take a lot for that to happen. It would take a lot of stars to align because as we know and as he's talked about, there's a lot of mouths to feed on that offense. So, but one of the things that I learned, he's ready. Oh, he's ready. That boy's locked in. And I'm excited about it because he has all the potential in the world. You know, I love CeeDee Lamb coming out. I was pretty disappointed that the 49ers didn't draft CeeDee Lamb. Brandon Aiyuk is making me forget about CeeDee Lamb really quickly. Very quickly. The CeeDee Lamb hive was buzzing. We wanted CeeDee Lamb so bad. So bad. But that didn't happen. 49ers opted to go Javon Kinlaw, but then they traded back up into the first, got Brandon Aiyuk. Brandon Aiyuk is making me forget. Who? CD who? I don't know. We got BA, man. So I'm excited for BA. Excited for what BA is going to continue to prove and what BA is going to continue to work on. I'm really, really looking forward to it. We did hear from Chris Forster, right? We heard from Chris Forster. I think one of the more profound sound bites from the 49ers offensive line coach was in regards to Spencer Burford. You guys know I interviewed Jonathan Feliciano. Feliciano's like, I'm here to compete. Where's Jonathan? One of the things that we learned, you know, Jonathan didn't want to divulge necessarily where he was competing and where it's been discussed he's going to be competing, right? But he made it clear he's coming in here to win a job. As any player, like, again, I don't think this should be some like crazy thing. Like, people, like, another thing that we learned, John Lynch finally said that, hey, the quarterback position is going to be a competition for everyone. People started losing their minds. Let's just remember that football is competition. Competition is football. So that's how it should be if you don't have no one's competing with Trent Williams. Not a chance. No one is competing with Trent Williams because Trent Williams is that guy. Now, Brock Purdy could be that guy, but it's not quite solidified because of the injury. So as a result, we're going to let these guys compete for it and may the best man win. The same thing goes for Spencer Burford. I really like this quote from Chris Forrester. He said, "You're not looking over your shoulder right now. This is your job." He's basically telling Spencer Burford, get out your head. Don't worry about Feliciano. Don't worry about anything else. Worry about what you can control. And right now, you are the starter. That's it. You're the starter, not Feliciano. Now, Feliciano wants to start, and he's going to compete for that job, and he's going to do everything he can to get that job. But I love what Forrester said publicly. You're not looking over your shoulder right now. This is your job. I like that. I like that for a young player. I like that for a young Spencer Burford who rotated with Daniel Brunskill last year. I like that. Give him that confidence. Just tell him right now, like, dude, don't worry about it. This is the NFL. You're going to be competing until you're on Trent Williams level. You're going to be consistently competing until you're on Trent Williams level. You're not on Trent Williams level yet, so you're going to compete. But you're the starter right now. Take ownership. Build on that. And make sure you're not leaving any room for someone like Feliciano to take it. I like that. I like it a lot. We'll see how it plays out. We'll see what that looks like in training camp. But I think right now, I love that messaging. I think it's perfect for what Burford is and what Burford needs. So I'm looking forward to that. And we'll see how it progresses in training camp, because that's when the real competition starts, honestly. I mean, things happen in OTAs, but I really think we'll find out more. We'll find out a lot more in training camp. When the Pats start popping, we see these guys going against Javon Hargrave, all that stuff. That's what we're going to see. Another thing that we learned from OTAs, specifically yesterday. Oh, boy. It's Drake Jackson season, baby. Like, I've like in the back of my head, I'm like, I believe it's Drake Jackson season, but I don't know for sure yet. I just don't know. Like, because again, what have we talked about at length about the 49ers free agency period and the draft? Edge. Edge has been consistently discussed as one of the main priorities from our perspectives for being able to build this roster out, whether it was draft, whether it was free agency, and they addressed edge in both. They got Beal from Georgia, edge. They got Wajay. I'm gonna destroy his name until I hear someone say it 14 times. From NDSU, they got Cleveland Ferrell. I think I'm saying his name correctly. So they have addressed the edge, but the reason why maybe they haven't went out and got one of these big names that we liked. I see Justin talking about Isaiah McGuire, maybe why they didn't draft Isaiah McGuire in the third round and, maybe swap where they, maybe taking Isaiah McGuire in the third, taking a tight end in the fifth, something along those lines. I think has to do with this guy. And my biggest takeaway from Drake Jackson, obviously, it's you see the physical side of it. My biggest takeaway isn't about the physical side. Like, even though it's a really big thing that he's gained 10 plus pounds, you can see visibly that he is much bigger. He's thicker. That's a thick ass boy. He's thick in a good way. And he talked about hitting PRs on bench press, hitting PRs on squat, That's obviously a good thing, but that's not my biggest takeaway. My biggest takeaway is what he's done mentally. He kinda talked about it. Like, it sounded like, Drake in his rookie year was clocking in, clocking out, kind of, would show up for practice, meetings, then leave. But it sounds like the coaching staff challenged him. We saw Kyle Shanahan publicly challenge him. Chris Kocurek. God, I don't know how long it's gonna take me to say his name right. But anyways, Kocurek challenged him, and he accepted the challenge. He even said, "I like to be challenged." So the coaches have figured that out, and they're poking at that button. They're challenging him. And he's accepted the challenge, and that's mental. And that's growth, that's maturity. Those are the things, in my opinion, that are going to translate to long-term success. We've always known Drake has been a traits guy. Long arms, long frame, extremely athletic, dudes doing backflips. Athleticism, size has never been his issue. It's getting the mind right, becoming a pro. And I don't expect every college player to enter the NFL with that mindset. Some do. Nick Bosa came into the NFL like a pro, like the epitome of pro ready mindset. His dad was an NFL player. His brother was already an NFL player. He had that mindset and mentality instilled in him at a young age. So going into the NFL, he didn't really have to do too much, anything different. I'm sure there were some things that he changed, but not a whole lot. Drake, I think, is a completely different story. And so it sounds like one of the things that we're learning about Drake is that he's accepted the challenge and he's growing mentally as well as physically. That's one of my biggest takeaways. So, very pleased with what Drake is doing. Very happy about that. And it kind of maybe speaks to them believing in Drake and the work that he's put in and believing in what he can be. So I'm very excited about that. Shout out Drake. Some other things that we've learned. It is officially hashtag Kicker Watch 2023. We are on the prowl for kicker updates. And the first practice that was open to media, it was even. They missed the same 48-yard kick. They made everything else. And again, you draft a kicker in the third round. It's like drafting a quarterback number 1 overall. The expectations are through the roof, and they're expected to be as good as advertised. Okay, well, shout out to Jake Moody. He won yesterday, according to Matt Mayoko. Jake Moody was perfect on the day from 33, 38, 43, and 53, while Zane Gonzalez missed a 43-yarder, and he made the rest of his. Those are the updates that we like. We want to make sure that our third-round investment into a kicker turns out to be something that we can get behind. Because the fear of failure of selecting a kicker in the third round, I think, is why fans don't like it. But if he turns out to be a successful kicker, we're going to be okay. And that third round compensation, which it was effectively it was a comp third, so it was at the very, very, very end of the third, effectively almost a fourth. I think we'll be able to wrap our heads around it a little bit better. I know in real time, I was shocked. I remember doing the live show. I did the live reaction while Jake Moody got picked. I didn't know what to say. I was just hooting I was just hooting and hollering because I couldn't believe it. Like, we joked about it for so long. I was like, "Oh my gosh, they actually took the kicker." They did it. They did what we've been joking about for the longest time. It was just like one of those moments where it was like, "Oh my gosh, they did it." You just gotta wrap your head around, like, the idea that, like, okay, we drafted a kicker in the 3rd round, right? So but at the end of the day, if he turns out to be the guy that Schneider believes, I mean, his special teams coach talked about the conviction that he had in drafting him, talked about basically like he's like, I don't care where you draft this guy. I really don't, but this is the guy that we need to take. I like that. I like that too. Good. Have conviction. Pound the table for your guy. And it sounds like Schneider did exactly that. So that makes me feel better. The special teams coach pounded the table for Jake. Moody stood on the table, shouted at everyone, "This is who you need to take." Makes me feel better. Appreciate you, Brandon. Thank you so much for the super chat. He said, "Yo, Brad, butter our bread and give us your prediction on what the 49ers record could potentially be and which divisional sweep are you most looking forward to?" Shout out to SDS. Keep cooking, Brad. Shout out to you, Brandon. Uh, he said, "Butter our bread." I will butter your bread. Well done. Well done, Brandon. Phenomenal. Appreciate the contribution, the super chat. And I appreciate the way you phrased that. Made me chuckle. Let's see. How are we going to butter this bread? What is the 49ers prediction? So this is what I really he said pause. This is what I think. Shout out Gang, by the way. I think that if Brock Purdy is your starting quarterback week 1, which it is, and we're going to get to what we've learned about the quarterback position because we've learned a lot actually in the last couple of days about the quarterback. So we're going to talk about the quarterback. I'm saving the quarterback stuff for the end because we actually have learned quite a bit recently. If Brock Purdy's quarterback 1, I really think the floor for the 49ers is really could be like 12 games. That's barring setbacks. That's assuming Brock Purdy gets back to the level that he was at and maybe even improves a little bit from like a mental processing standpoint. Might maybe take a little while for the physical to catch up, but from a mental processing standpoint, if we see that he's back on track, he's locked in, he's ready to go, the floor is like 11 and 12. The ceiling, honestly, you look at our schedule, it really could go as high as, I don't know, 14, 15, 16 wins. Like this team is so stacked. This team is so stacked. I think it's a favorable schedule. I think, there's always going to be trap games. The travel is pretty daunting. It is. So that's a part of the schedule that I think we have to be cognizant of, is that there's a lot of travel and that wears on these guys' body. It wears on their ability to recover and wears on them mentally. That's a big part of it. And the 49ers travel the second most out of any team in the NFL. And there's been some other like stats to come out about their travel that is also just as daunting. So I'm gonna land kind of like right there in the middle, I think. I'm gonna land right there in the middle. I'm gonna say 13 wins right now. I'm gonna say 13. I feel confident. I recognize there will be trap games. There will be situations that pop up that we weren't anticipating, i.e., look at the game against the Bears last year, right? Every single person's schedule, like any 49er fan, looked at that opening schedule last year, saw the Bears week 1 and said, that's the easiest win we've ever seen. Week 1 versus the Bears? Do we have to play that game? That's a W. But poop happens. And we actually lost that game. So, not saying that's going to happen every week, but that I'm always cognizant of there's going to be games like that. So, I'm going to call it 13 wins right now. I'm calling it 13 wins right now. That could change once we get through training camp. Training camp is where I really start to feel confident in the team. Right now, on paper, I'm confident, but we still got a lot of stuff to figure out with the quarterback. When I get into training camp, we do our final season prediction. We do award predictions. We do all that. So that's after training camp, though. I got to get in there. I got to see it. And which divisional sweep are we most looking forward to? That's a good one, because I'm always looking forward to sweeping the Rams. Always. Like, I'm never not satisfied by sweeping the Rams. I'm always satisfied sweeping the Cardinals. But I would say last year was the most satisfying sweep of an NFC divisional opponent that I've ever experienced. Being able to watch the 49ers beat Seattle convincingly after Trey went down, Jimmy comes in, still whoop them in week 2. I was in Seattle for that Thursday night football game, watching the 49ers clinch the division against Seattle on the road in prime time in the Hawks Nest. Wow, that was my first ever away game. First ever away game in Seattle for the division in prime time. Magic. Just magic. Absolutely magic. What a fun experience. Brought my son with me. It was great. Then being able to go to the wild card playoff game, and that game and the turns that game had. Last year sweeping the Seattle Seahawks 3 times was magical. It was fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you for the super chat, by the way. Great super chat. Shout out Brandon for the super chat. So that's what I'm looking forward to. And you know what? I'm going to have to say Seattle, man, because I'm talking about last year's sweep. I want to do it again because Seattle is better. They got better. They did. And they're going to be tougher. They're going to be a tougher matchup. They've gotten better on their defensive line. They have added some pretty solid talent. They have 2 young cornerbacks. They're waiting for why am I blanking on his name? The safety. He was hurt almost all last year. He's been out for so long that I forgot his name. You guys know what I'm talking about, though. He should be back by then. And Seattle got better offensively. They have 2 extremely talented young running backs. Geno Smith heading into year 2, not competing, paid. I imagine Geno even takes a step forward. They have now DK, JSN, and Lockett. That's pretty solid. So, and I think their O-line got better. They drafted Ollie in the 5th round out of Michigan, center. Gabe, you know my boy, Abe Lucas, heading into year 2. It's going to be an all-pro tackle for them. God. Ugh. We could have had him, man. We could have had him. Jamal Adams, yes, that's who I'm talking about. So Seattle got better. They got better. So it's going to be a dogfight, I think. I think even more so than last year. So going to be a good one. Dwayne Eskridge. I owned him in a bunch of dynasty leagues. I have just been waiting for him to do something, and he has done absolutely nothing. I did think at one point that he was going to do something of note, but that never actually occurred. I liked Dwayne Eskridge was coming out of hold on. CMC posted. CMC. Sorry, squirrel. Okay. Big time squirrel. All right. No idea what I was talking about. Got completely distracted. Western Michigan. Thank you. That's what I was talking about. Dwayne Eskridge. Anyways, we got big time distracted. Let's get back on track. What else did we learn? What else did we learn from OTAs? Should we talk about the quarterback? Might as well. Let's talk about the quarterback. What we've learned is that Brock Purdy appears to be ahead of schedule. Brock Purdy appears to be on track to be ready at least by training camp. So I don't want to say at the start of training camp. I'll say during training camp. We'll go from there. I do anticipate with now where we're at with what we've heard about Brock Purdy from John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan. We're getting reports now from national media that Brock Purdy is on track and he's progressing well. Brock Purdy has done some good things as of late. We did find out that Brock Purdy started throwing this week, but we got a little bit more information on that. We did find out that Brock Purdy threw on Monday this week, took a rest day on Tuesday, and threw again on Wednesday. So far, no setbacks, and it appears that he is progressing extremely well. So, this is good news. And again, the continued timeline still appears to be training camp. So, that is the best possible news that we could get right now for Brock Purdy. And at least physically, it doesn't sound like we're getting any setbacks. Doesn't sound like he's experienced. Of course, I would be hesitant to believe that the 49ers would go out of their way to share any information as if like to say if it was a kind of if he had a setback or if something maybe it wasn't going as great as they hoped. So I assume, but I believe though they could have said nothing. So I would say that would have been the outcome if it wasn't going well. They would have just said nothing about it. But I think the fact that they did say something, I do believe that it is going in the right direction. I don't think they would say that for no reason. And also, I do believe that Brock Purdy is going to be able to play for the 49ers this year, and he could very well be starting week 1. And right now, I do believe that Brock Purdy is the best quarterback on the roster right now. We'll see what that looks like in training camp. That could change. Trey Lance could take a big step forward. Sam Darnold, who knows, shocks all of us and, realizes his potential. But I do believe right now Brock Purdy is going to give the 49ers the best chance to win football games. Um, I, I think some of the things that we are hearing is that, Sam and Trey, eh, you know, kind of about the same. I don't think there's again, we talked about it with Trey, like for Trey, like I think he has to kind of really just come out and just wow and just really transform and be like, okay, like I still think two things can be true. I think Trey can have improved mechanics. I think Trey can have had a good offseason, and I think he could be progressing. But I still also do believe that he's still behind Brock in kind of that maturation process. And we'll see with Sam. I'm gonna really just hold my opinions of Sam until I can get a better look at him. There's really nothing that I've seen from these little clips or videos that we've gotten that has been an indication to me one way or the other that you know we'll find out when the bullets start flying. That's when we'll find out who's really ready. But what did we talk about yesterday? I think we had a little clip from Lombardi where they were practicing play action boot throws that were pretty decently deep downfield. And we watched them in consecutive order. It was Trey Lance, it was Sam Darnold, then Brandon Allen. And we're just being objectively honest. And we're like, hey, at least I was like, Brandon Allen won that rep. Like, if you had to boil it down and you just had to say out of this one rep against air, who won it, it would have been Brandon Allen. So uh, I gotta wait and see. I gotta wait and see until training camp to be able to really kind of evaluate it. But at least there's positive news that they're both looking decently well. But I don't think there's really anything in OTAs where these guys can separate right now from what Brock Purdy has done. I don't think this quarterback competition can be won in OTAs. Again, Trey Lance took all the first team reps, it sounded like week 1. And yesterday, Sam Darnold took pretty much all the first team reps. And so I'm not surprised by that. I feel like some people are surprised that Sam Darnold started taking first team reps. I'm really not surprised at all. I mean, especially when, Kyle Shanahan even said that so many months ago that they were going to split first team reps. And we knew that that was going to occur and the likelihood was that Trey was going to start out with the ones and then they would rotate from there. And so I think they're sticking true to that. And so what I think really what the 49ers are trying to discern right now is who's going to be quarterback 2? Because if Brock is on point and Brock is back and he's healed, he should be quarterback 1. He should. And the tape says that. The tape says he should be quarterback 1. And that's not an opinion on who I like more. It's just what, again, as we've discussed, I've gone back into the tape. I've watched both these guys and just watching them again, and from trying to watch from a different type of perspective and objectively watching them, you're just like, yeah, I can see why Brock is quarterback 1 right now. So we'll see how it goes. Training camp will be a big test. Will one of these guys, Trey Lance, Sam Darnold, be able to prove enough in training camp and preseason to be able to overtake Brock? I think the only scenario in which that works is that if Brock it doesn't come back fully right away, if that makes sense. Like if Brock maybe is a little bit hesitant, because we've seen this before. Like we've seen quarterbacks. Like I don't want this to be the case, but use Derek Carr as an example. Derek Carr was pretty fearless and was a pretty solid player. Then he broke his leg, and he was just kind of a fraction of himself. You could tell mentally he was affected much differently by pressure. Pressure before leg injury didn't do a whole lot, but after the leg injury, he was a different player. So that's all right now is that's the next stage for Brock is we have to make sure from a processing standpoint, from how he deals and maneuvers pressure, his pocket awareness. Because again, one of the things that made Brock so effective, Brock can create his own throwing lanes, windows, and he does that by how he sets himself up in the pocket and also how he manipulates defenses with his eyes. And he's able to kind of slide around and find the throwing lane. And whether it's throwing in between defenders, throwing over the top, side arming, as long as those things aren't affected, then he should be fine. So we'll see. We'll see. I think some of the so really kind of wrapping up the quarterback thing. I I don't know if there's really too much more than we could learn. Um Alex says leg breaks for a quarterback are different. They are different for sure. But what it isn't different is the mental toll that those types of injuries take, whether it's leg, whether it's arm. There's still a mental toll that is going to be carried from that, and it's just how do they respond. So I think he'll be able to respond, but we just got to wait and see. Outside of that, some other things that we learned: Samuel Womack was the next man up, not Ambry Thomas from the cornerback position. So Charvarius didn't practice yesterday, and it was Samuel Womack who was the next man up. So it feels like Ambry has kind of tumbled down a little bit. So we'll see what Ambry's looking like in training camp if he's able to like regain his. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with Ambry, man. So we'll got to see what's going on there. We didn't really get a ton of tight end updates. Joey Fisher's a guard. Let's see what other things. We haven't seen Javon Hargrave yet. We learned that Christian McCaffrey is a dog, and he's going to practice no matter what. I love that Christian McCaffrey is out here practicing like 100 miles an hour in OTAs. I think Christian McCaffrey genuinely loves football, and he loves the situation that he's in, and he wants to be a part of it. He wants to be out there. He wants to be with the guys. I like that. We did get Debo Samuel. He showed up to OTAs, but he was working off to the side. So I don't know if that's injury related or what, but at least he was there. But it is OTAs. It's organized team activities. It's not mandatory, so these guys don't have to show up. But it's hey, I like it. I like when they show up. I like when you show up to work when you don't have to. Right? Sends a nice message. Sends a good message for sure. So overall, though, I'm pretty pleased with what we've learned from OTAs so far. And I think it's going to continue to set up a training camp that is going to be a very fun one to cover. I think there's a lot of storylines heading into this training camp. Obviously, the main one surrounds the quarterback, but there's some other good storylines heading into this training camp, whether it's competitions, whether it's vets ascending or young guys ascending, vets trying to fight off young guys, etc. I'm really, really looking forward to how this is all shaping out. Sounds like the wide receiver room is going to be an interesting one. The running back room is going to be interesting. Who's going to be the depth pieces on the O line? How's the D line shake out? We got storylines at almost every position. So I'm excited about where this team currently sits. I think that there's enough talent, there's enough veteran presence, there's enough injection of youth that this 49er team can win a lot of games. And it feels like I just get this like no BS vibe. Like there's just no BS. Even with all the quarterback situation going on, it's like they've been through this so much already that it's whatever. Whatever. We're going to go about our business and we're going to control what we can control and we're going to go win football games. Doesn't matter. We've done it with multiple quarterbacks before, so I don't even think the team is really that like worried about it. Like they're just like we got a good team. You hear defense, you hear like Fred Warner. Like Fred Warner believes that the defense can win games all by themselves. They're like, we don't need anyone else. We can do it all by ourselves. I like that confidence from the defense. Takes a lot of pressure off the offense. So far right now, I think the 49ers find themselves in a good spot. And make sure you got a lot of popcorn ready. Make sure you got a lot of popcorn ready because training camp is going to be electric. It's going to be fun. Excited for it. Looking kind of at the schedule, we still have like a week or two of OTAs. Then we have mandatory minicamp in mid-June, and then we break. Tight end U is right after minicamp, and then we break for basically it's going to turn out to be like a month, about a month, maybe a month and a couple weeks, and then training camp is here. And it's going to be one of those times where it's going to be like it's going to feel like it's taking forever, but it's also at the same time going to go by quickly. It's one of those weird phenomena where it's like, man, this feels like it's taking forever, but then we're going to blink our eyes and we're going to be talking about training camp. So just trying to enjoy this time, trying to learn as much as we can about this roster and get prepared for a good season that hopefully ends with a ring, because Lord knows we need it. Shout out to all you guys as always for tapping in. Shout out to SDS for vibing. Appreciate you guys as always. Supporting the content, it always means a lot. Grab your cookies on the way out. Shout out to Gang. Shout out SDS. You guys are a vibe. I can't wait till the season kicks off and we can get some real buzz going. That's what I'm looking forward to. It's going to be a good time, man. But appreciate you guys always rocking with the channel. Y'all the best. I'm out of here for now, but y'all already know I'm going to keep you updated as best I can, and appreciate you. I'm out. Peace. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to